Welcome back to the TwinSpires Jury. I'm Ashley Anderson here with Darin Zoccali, and we've got Nick Tammaro back to talk our best bets and fades of the weekend at tracks like Saratoga, Ellis Park, Woodbine, and more. It's good to have you back, Nick. You can catch Nick on TwinSpires previewing Del Mar this weekend. I'm guessing you're talking some big stakes this weekend.
No doubt about it. The Clement Hirsch on Saturday. Also, some Calbred Stakes action that I spoke to Andrew Brown about should be available a little bit later today. We touched on the Real Good Deal on Friday afternoon. A really nice matchup between Calbred's Kangaroo Court and Bus Buzz. That'll be Friday in the really in the evening for most of us. And then on Saturday, also the California Dreamin', in addition to that Clement Hirsch, which looks like a nice competitive field of Calbreds going long on the turf.
Sounds good. And Darin, happy to have you back. Can you let us know about any promos we should check out at TwinSpires this weekend?
Oh, there's no shortage of promotions. I think we got about 14 or 15 of them up right now on the page. Yeah, we started a couple of new ones for Saratoga and Del Mar. Saratoga, we're going to have a money back with selected races each day of the race meet. Del Mar, we have the daily double down, which has been a popular promotion that we've run at some of the tracks in Kentucky, where if you hit a couple of daily doubles on the card, we're going to add a nice 25% bonus to your winnings up to a cap of $25. And that's available every single day. So you're eligible to get that boost each day. We have a litany of offers at Colonial, one for each day, including a leaderboard contest. The Fridays, we have the pick 5, hit it and split it. And then we have Hambletonian offers coming up on Saturday for the Meadowlands' huge day of racing, money back on all their races, and a profit boost for select list of wagers. So, and there's even a lot more than that, but we'd be here until next week talking to about it, Ashley, if we keep going. But go to the offers page. I'm sure there's something for everybody.
Awesome. Well, Nick, since we haven't seen you in a little while, we'll let you start off this week. What is your best bet and where are you playing that?
So mine's going to come in race 8 on Saturday at Saratoga, the test, which I do think is going to be a really terrific edition of this early August staple. And I'm going to the 6 Darth Vader, who's going to be 6-1, or is 6-1 on the morning line, and should be about that price. I thought this daughter of Gervin ran really well last time out in the Acorn, making her first start for George Weaver. And one thing that's been true of her throughout her career is she's trained very well. She's also performed very well in the afternoons, and she's done so again for this engagement. So I think that this particular edition of the test, while pretty mischievous, is clearly a deserving favorite. I thought the gap between she and Darth Vader, as we saw at Belmont in the Acorn, was pretty narrow. And I think, all things considered, I'd much rather have Darth Vader at a price of 5 or 6-1 rather than pretty mischievous, who'll almost certainly be under 2-1. And I think that cutback in distance and having an outside post will really help Darth Vader quite a bit. I'm looking forward to betting her on Saturday afternoon.
What do you think, Darin?
Yeah, I actually needed her in the Acorn, so that was a painful defeat there. But I actually liked her a little bit as well because of the pace scenario. A lot of the key contenders on the outside, Money's Gold and Maple Leaf Mel, definitely going to be flying out of there. And I think things could set up nicely. She should be in a good stalking spot. And I think 5-1, 6-1 is definitely fair value. So I think Nick is definitely onto something there.
Yeah, I like Darth Vader here too. Well,
there goes that price, Nick. Everybody's on this horse.
Well, Darin, tell us what your best bet is this weekend.
Yeah, they have a great weekend of racing. The Kentucky Downs preview races at Ellis, and I'm looking at the Ladies Turf Sprint race number 7 on Saturday, where there's going to be a short price favorite in Baystorm, who I definitely do recognize as a legitimate player. But with the speed that's signed on in here to the inside of Baystorm and Love and Money, who I think could potentially go at it early because Baystorm probably has to go from that inside post. I think Going Good could really fall into a great trip here. I've always been a big time fan of this mare. She runs well, whether it's synthetic or turf. I think the 5.5 at Ellis is going to hit her right in between the eyes. I think the 5 might be a little bit short for her. I think the 6.5 she sometimes could be a little bit long. Take a look at her form. She was right there in the Intercontinental, just beating a length and a quarter, 2 starts back. That's just behind the 8-5 favorite. I think she's going to get a great setup here. Brad Cox, trainee, comes in. He's got monster numbers this year. He does extremely well at Ellis Park. And at 5-1, I think she's definitely a live win contender. Is definitely square value.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to take it over to Saratoga. The big race this weekend is the Whitney, and I'm going to look to beat Cody's Wish at 1-2 on the morning line. He's on a 6-win streak, but racing at 7 furlongs or a mile. So I'm going to look to play a different horse and charge it at 5-1. Going back to Cody's Wish, Bill Mott even said, we're just guessing he can do it at 1 1/8 of a mile. And Cody's Wish, the one time he did race at this distance, was a distant third at Saratoga, though it was his second career start. But with Charge It, there's a number of reasons I like this horse. If you go to TwinSpires Edge, my colleague Vance Hansen has a trends piece on the Whitney. And actually, the last 6 of the last 10 winners have gone gate to wire, and 3 others were never worse than second at any call. So that gives me even more reason to like a horse like Charge It. And Todd Pletcher has won 4 editions of the Whitney. 3 of those were with John Velasquez, the rider of Charge It. So I'm going to take my chance with this horse. I'm curious, are you all backing Cody's Wish in this spot, or do you like another horse?
Go ahead, Darren.
Well, I never guess right on Charge It. So, I don't know if I could land on him. He's an anomaly to me. I definitely think he's got a pace advantage over Cody's Wish in this spot and could certainly fall into a good trip. Zandon is in the race, a horse that seemingly never wins and hasn't won since the Bluegrass Stakes. I know there's a lot of talk about this horse stretching out to 1 mile and an eighth. I don't necessarily think if the Met Mile was an extra eighth of a mile, Cody's Wish was getting beat that day. Maybe going around 2 turns, make things a little bit different here, but Junior Alvarado just takes a hold of him and unleashes that monstrous turn of foot and times it right. I just haven't seen anything from him that indicates to me that he should lose to these horses that he's been beating pretty much time and time again, Nick.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, the Charge It Cody's Wish matchup. It's like the horse who always delivers versus the one that seemingly never delivers, but has always shown potential, right? And so we've all been waiting for Charge It to really take that big step forward. The only caution I'll give anybody who's questionable about the distance and references Cody's Wish's only tried 1 mile and an eighth, watch the replay. He got left in the gate and made an enormous move on the first turn, went basically from last to first. He had a wild trip that day. And then the only other time he's gone 2 turns, he did it at Tampa last year, and he caught Scalding at a time when Scalding was getting really good. And he actually broke poorly again and put a good run into it late. So I will admit I'm a Cody's Wish fan. I've been since his debut when I needed him to run second and he didn't. But so I've kind of rolled with that along the way. And so I'm expecting him to win, but I don't blame anybody for wanting to take a try with Charge It because he's sort of the horse player's forbidden fruit, right? He's always shown this tremendous potential. He looked great last time, but that level of competition is just a little bit softer than what he's going to face here. I'm intrigued by the matchup, though.
All right, well, we'll see who's right next weekend or this weekend.
Very much so.
To the horse we're not backing at short odds. Obviously, I just gave you one of them in Cody's Wish. And Nick, you kind of talked about Maple Leaf Mel a little bit. Do you want to note any other reasons you're not backing this horse in the test?
Yeah, I mean, a big wet blanket that I am, I can talk badly about undefeated horses like they're common. Maple Leaf Mel is a really nice horse. Don't get me wrong. And of course, there's a lot of people that, love the feel-good element of a horse being named for her trainer. And I was astounded that she got as easy a lead as she did last time out in the victory ride. And I think someday her number is going to get called, right? Someday somebody's going to go and not let her just get clear of the field. I thought it would be Key of Life 2 starts ago. I thought it would be Red Carpet Ready last time. One thing that's clear is Maple Leaf Mel's really fast. And so there does have to be a certain amount of concern that she might just be quick enough to get loose. But between Money's Gold and also Jersey Pearl in this race, and even Clearly Unhinged, who maybe is appropriately named given my soliloquy here, you have to imagine Maple Leaf Mel's getting some pressure. And I think that's what's going to set things up, hopefully, for horses like Darth Vader, who I picked as my best bet. And another horse who I think, in addition to Pretty Mischievous, who could get into the try here is a long shot like Interpolate, who I think will really benefit if Maple Leaf Mel gets some pressure. So even though she's not the favorite, my fate of the weekend is Maple Leaf Mel.
Darren, what about you?
Yeah, I'm heading up north of the border. The Vice Regent Stakes at Woodbine. There's a 2-1 favorite in the morning line that I definitely want to play against in the name of Rockcrest. She's coming off back-to-back victories, but both of those on synthetic surfaces. She's 5 for 12 lifetime on all weather. She's 1 for 13 over turf. She's clearly a better horse on a synthetic surface. She's going back to turf here. Granted, cutting back to 5 furlongs in, her speed is her best weapon, but this race has plenty of early foot in it. Aim for the Sky, Silent Reserve. and then Old Blondie are all going to make things a little bit difficult for her up front early. So this is a spot to me, especially when you take a look at the multi-race exotics, that you could take a real big shot against this horse at a short price that people are going to fall in love with because the trainer wins right now at a huge percentage. I think Rockcrest going back to turf in a race loaded with speed is a dead stone play against for me. I'm probably going to lean heavily on Outlaw Kid in the race, who's granted going to probably be the second choice, but it's still better than picking the favorite here that I think is definitely one you want to take a stand against.
Yeah, I like that play. The record on turf is very suspect, 1 for 13. So it's definitely a good call there. Well, I'm going to head over to the West Virginia Derby this weekend on Sunday at Mountaineer. And I was a little surprised Race Cane is the morning line favorite at 3-1, was beaten just a nose by Verifying in the Indiana Derby last out and had a 1:14 late pace rating. So it does bode well for stretching out to 1 1/8 of a mile, but has failed to finish on the money in 2 tries at that distance. You know, if you're a fan of Bristnet trainer stats, also Ben Colbrook is just a 4% winner in graded stakes and an 8% winner with horses racing on Lasix the first time, which is what Race Cane will be doing. So I'm going to look elsewhere. I like Lord Miles potentially also racing on Lasix for the first time for Safi Joseph, and has a bullet 5 furlong workout ahead of this event. Also, you've got Tappett's Conquest right about 1 in Vermilion in this field, and I think they're definitely capable of pulling off a win here. So I'll be fading Race Cane in the West Virginia Derby. Well, is there anything else worth noting this weekend? Darren, you want to tell us a little bit about some harness racing?
Yeah, big harness racing this weekend on Saturday at the Meadowlands. It's Hambletonian Day. They have their 16 race card that gets underway at 12 noon. Hambletonian will be live on Fox Sports, race number 12. Of a blockbuster program. And the real story is, can Yannick Gingras, who's been one of the leading drivers in the country for the better part of the last 15 years, can he finally get that elusive Hambletonian? He's been second 3 times. He's had the misfortune of winning both eliminations in the past and opting off of the eventual Hambletonian winner when he picked Mission Brief over Pinkman, and then had to settle for second and watch Brian Sears guide Pinkman to a Hambletonian win. The trainer, Ron Burke, is also looking for his first Hambletonian because he was disqualified from winning the Hambletonian 4 years ago, albeit with David Miller driving. Now this year, Gingras and Burke team up with an elimination winner in Celebrity Bambino, who's the morning line favorite, much to my chagrin, guys, because I've been high on this horse for the better part of a month and posted on Twitter a month ago that he was my Hambo pick. I thought he'd be 8-9-1 back then. Now he's 2-1, so the price is gone. But definitely an intriguing storyline at the Meadowlands to see if these two can team up to get their Hambletonian. Going to be a great race, a great betting card. And again, we have those 2 great promotions for the Meadowlands. We have a money back on each and every race. That's 16 of them. So be sure to opt into that, and a profit boost on selected wagers on all races throughout the day as well. So really happy to support that big Hambletonian Day card.
Nick, what about you? What else is worth noting this weekend?
Yeah, looking forward to the big weekend of racing, no doubt about it. The Whitney card has a number of supporting stakes on it. And I'm intrigued by the fact that going into Thursday racing, Chad Brown, who annually is atop the trainer standings at Saratoga, actually has a positive ROI at the meet. We've seen him connect with winners at 7-1, 6-1, and 8-1 just in the last week. So the public, as we see a lot of horses winning from the barn of Linda Rice, and of course, as we're accustomed to seeing from the barn of Todd Pletcher as well, Chad's horse is sliding under the radar a little bit. So I'll keep an eye out on some that he's got in the stakes races. I mentioned Interpolate a little bit earlier. Portfolio Company is one running in the Lure on Saturday that I'm looking forward to seeing as well. So ready to roll for the big weekend.
And real quick, I want to mention at Ellis Park, Darren already talked about the ladies turf sprint. We have Kentucky Downs preview days at Ellis this weekend, and also 2 other stakes races in the Dueling Grounds Derby preview. We've got Wadsworth coming in, potentially a viable single in this race, and Godolphin Homebred, who won the American Derby last out, a no shy of being 2 for 2 on turf since switching to that surface. But I'm also interested in number 7, Anglophile, in this spot, moving up in class off a half-length win and an allowance at Ellis, and had the highest last race speed rating among the field with a 97. He's 2 for 3 at this track, so could be an interesting longer shot to back there. And the final race at Ellis on Saturday is the Mint Millions Turf Mile. Got a good field here. Fuerteventura is a horse that I'm actually also considering fading, but we'll be looking to back Gray's Fable and also Play Action Pass, and Heaven Street are 2 horses I'm looking at longer odds to also back in that race. Y'all playing any Ellis? I mean, Darren, I know you are.
Yeah, no, I am. I'm actually intrigued for the return of Kittidan on Sunday. He's coming back in the Kentucky Cup, the Kentucky Downs Turf preview, his first start since last year when he had to be scratched before the Breeders' Cup Turf. He was the Dueling Grounds Derby winner last year at Kentucky Downs. And I have a little bit of personal interest because we actually own the 2-year-old sister to Kittidan, who won her debut at Horseshoe Indianapolis about a month ago. So hopefully he continues to ascend, because then our filly's value will ascend right along with it, Nick.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, right? Plenty of good turf action at Ellis, so you got to be keeping at least one eye on it.
Awesome. Well, that's all the time we have today for the jury. Again, check out a number of promos, a long list of promos at TwinSpires this weekend. And we'll be back on Tuesday for our racing roundtable to recap a number of stakes we talked about today. And of course, next Thursday, check out our best bets and fades of the weekend as well. We'll see you then.